We're live.
Happy
Yeah.
Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Yeah.
Happy hotter than
Yeah.
balls outside.
I'm Kerry. This is Michael. And
Hey, y'all.
a lot of you wanted to know a little bit about Michael's story because you see him in our Gemstone Chronicles and our deep dive. So what brings you in the business, in this industry?
I don't know. I've been in the business since I was my first retail job. I was 15 years old. So I've been doing it more than half my life. But what actually got me started, I really can't tell you. The one thing I can maybe try to, what started it all was on the weekends. I was living in New York at the time. One of these channels turned into a shop at home type deal, and they were selling gemstones.
Oh yeah, for those of you who don't know, in New York they have local access channels, and you could actually have your own channel. Am I correct?
I was a teenager. I was like 10 or 11 at the time.
So they were selling it was probably a local access channel that they.
It might have been.
Yeah,
could very well have been. I'm not sure. Back then, I wasn't paying too much attention to it, but I would do on the weekends, on a Saturday afternoon or morning, whatever it was. I would, instead of watching cartoons, I would like, look, they're selling gemstones on TV. So
that's cool.
I just sat there and watched it for however many hours it was. And then I read in the newspaper, back when people still read newspaper, that there was a gem show that was going to come to one of the local malls. And I'm like, well, I got to see this stuff in person.
Wow.
Yeah. So went to the gem show. It was ooh and ah and hey, look, I know what that is, and I've seen that on TV before, and well, that's cool. I've heard.
How were the dealers towards you? Were they mentoring kind of?
Considering how young I was, yes.
Yeah.
No, doing that today, being a newbie in the industry, I doubt I'll get that same kind of reception.
At your age, but when I used to do shows, I would bring my son with me, and the dealers loved him. When they packed up to go, there'd be like stones on the floor, and they'd let him scrounge for them, and then he'd come back the next show with a little case, and his name's Emil, and he called it M's Gems, and we let him put it on the table. He's a teacher now. He's smart enough not to be in this business. Yeah,
that's cool. But I mean, I remember specifically one of the dealers had and it was the dumbest little thing. It was a 3mm Spessartine garnet. I think a 3mm Mandarin garnet. And I'm like, I was like, that's a Mandarin garnet. That's a Spessartite garnet. Back then it was Spessartite, and now it's Spessartine. So. But he was, being a kid of 10 or 11 years old or whatever it was, like pretty shocked that I knew something that most people had no idea what it was. But
cool.
Thanks to watching TV.
Hey, TV's good for something. Yeah.
And the best part about that experience was he actually gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's like, here. Well, because of course to him it was just, a pittance. And for me, it was the coolest thing on earth. Because it was
gem dealers are like that to the next generation.
They really, again, but doing that now, I would not get that same warm reception, I don't think.
You would if you were 13 years old.
Well, that's the thing. My age had everything to do with it.
Everything
they would
to do with it.
Like the next generation is here.
Right.
Let's foster this. Let's encourage it.
Exactly.
And they did. Oh, did they?
What was the show company? Do you remember?
No, this was it was in Niagara Falls, New York, and this was in 1990.
Right, Intergem.
I don't know.
Yeah, we used to do the GLW shows, but we didn't have one in Niagara Falls.
Yeah. They literally set up in the middle of the mall.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's walking around the mall. There's like a line of dealers set it with tables and some towers, and
cool.
It's right there in the middle of the mall.
And this is something you wanted to do.
I didn't know it at the time, but I definitely was interested. And then a few weeks later, there was, one of the local fire departments was having a gem show, just in their driveway, basically. So anybody who had stuff to sell would show up, and they just sell out of the driveway at the firehouse.
Cool.
Well, they do it there because people knew where it was. You didn't have to search for a location.
And it's safe.
Yeah.
You're a fireman.
Yeah. I bought my first ruby there.
Oh, wow.
I spent $5 on a carat and a half ruby.
Wow. We used to have a club, a mineral club, gem and mineral club here in Fort Myers. I don't think it exists anymore. They would meet out in front of the building at Lee Memorial Hospital in 41. There was that building out in the front of it.
Okay.
And they would meet there once a week. So,
see, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. My father-in-law, may he rest in peace, he was in the club.
Right.
He was a rock hound, so he didn't do much with them. He did a little cutting, but not much. He had a little flat lot machine.
Right on. Yeah, I've done some capping, and of course, not enough to be proficient at it, but
I am not patient.
Well, that's part of my thing.
Like, yeah, I've got a flat lap at home. Not patient.
I would say to save time, it's worth my money to save time and pay the person that's got the 30 years experience to do it how I want it done.
Yes.
So I'm good with that.
Yes. Money well spent.
Yeah.
I don't think a cutter, be it in the United States, India, or any place, makes their time back in money doing that kind of work. Because that takes a lot of time.
You have to love it.
Yeah, it is. It has to be a thing of love.
Yeah. But so, I got interested in stones. I moved down to Georgia, just north of Atlanta, and somehow, some way, I learned that there were ruby sapphire mines in Franklin, North Carolina.
Sure.
And that was like a 2-hour drive. I'm like, Dad, I don't have a license. I'm 13, 14 years old. Can you take me? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? So we went up for, it was a Saturday afternoon or something like that. So we drove up in the morning, spent the day up there, and you pay for your bags of dirt. And they have the running flume, or like the water flume, and your little screen and wooden handmade like panning screen, and you're sitting there shaking the dirt out. And holy crap, I have a ruby!
Yeah, I did it once. Holy crap, there's an opal in there, and I'm wondering. Okay, yeah, all right. No, there's something wrong with this picture.
Right. But again, for a
14-year-old
kid, yeah.
Oh, we had fun with it. Was we brought our son. We used to do the show up there in Franklin.
Yeah,
the GLW show, since they were doing GLW shows up there. And
they still do.
Yeah, we started way back before we started in the 80s.
I probably saw you at the shows.
Oh, you probably did. But
this was mid-90s.
In the mid-90s, we were a tool dealer at the shows. So if you went to the tent, was the tent up then?
Yeah.
Okay, if you went to the tent, we were the tool dealer in the tent back then.
I wasn't looking for tools back then, Karen.
I know. Where were you? We had some lapidary tools. We didn't do the beads at the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lord knows there was 100 bead dealers up there. It's like beading central.
Yeah.
But yeah, we before there was a tent, they used to be in downtown Franklin, is where we would go and exhibit.
Would you like at a hotel or just?
It was 2 hotels in downtown Franklin. They were kind of across from each other, and one hotel had a big grassy knoll.
Courtyard.
Yes, courtyard. There we go. That they put a tent on the courtyard, and the old timers had the rooms there, and that was a great time.
Was it a U-shaped hotel?
No, it was an L-shaped hotel.
Okay. I know
where the Hardee's was.
No, I don't.
Okay. It's right downtown. It was right.
Because I remember going to at least one of those.
Yeah, and then there's the one across the way. You probably didn't go to the other one, because the other one was only like 8 rooms.
Oh, okay.
You probably went to the one, and the one side is a road, and then the L-shaped hotel, and all the rooms had dealers in it. There was a pool in the front of the hotel.
That's the one that pool is what I remember.
Right.
Not a grass.
We were in the tent in the back there for years and years. I hung around with the rough opal guys. They were my buddies.
Amazing how small this industry is.
Yes.
Meeting you how many decades later.
Yeah. I get a lot of that. The Treasure Traders, the group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're not in that group.
I used to be.
Yeah, Medford is the guy that runs the group.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of my customers from the 80s and 90s. So, yeah, he's good people.
It's amazing how small this industry's gotten.
Yeah,
especially with the
very
internet.
Small.
Yeah.
Very small, and it's hard to get away with anything nowadays.
Word travels like wildfire.
Yes, yeah. So, you decided to do this as a profession?
I did. Of course, I started studying and reading about gemstones from the early age of like 11. I think it was in New York. Got one of my Gemstones of the World. I think was my first book.
The best book. I think it's out of print, but if you want to know anything about Gemstones of the World, I think it's on Amazon.
That's sure.
The best book. We used to sell the book. The book is just fabulous.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I would study the pictures. I got to the point where I'd be able to go to the show, and of course, I'm still young at this point, and identify a lot of what I was seeing because of that book. I mean,
Yeah.
I still have that book.
And the book, I mean, you can look the stuff up online, but the book, I mean, the book was the book.
Yeah, I mean, it was back then. To me, it was like the Bible.
But even today,
it's still very, very relevant.
Yeah, extremely relevant.
I'm sure they've added to it. There's a different version or volume.
No, I don't think it's even in print. I don't know if it's in print anymore.
Well, there's been a volume or two since my first.
Well, since your first one, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it. Was that was
it was awesome. It was
yeah, and they had a cousin or a sister book, Minerals of the World.
Yeah,
but I'm not into minerals.
I didn't get into minerals until mid 2000s.
What brought you into liking minerals?
The guy that I was working for at the time. I was working for a gem dealer in San Diego, and he would also sell.
You want to name names?
Tom Schneider.
I think I know him.
Yeah, he's been around for decades. His parents owned a rock shop in San Diego, but he would sell gem rough and he would sell gem crystals.
Mm-hmm.
And until I started working for him, anytime I'd see a clean crystal, you know what? Cut it. That's a gemstone. There's a gemstone in there. Let's make it happen. And nowadays, if I see a fine tanzanite crystal, a fine tourmaline crystal, even something that's like a green garnet, and it's a banging crystal, someone says that should be cut, I just cringe.
Yeah. You can get your money out of it cutting it, though. I mean, you can.
But when nature makes something so pretty, it's almost a gemstone in itself. It doesn't need any help from us.
Yeah, I like aquamarine, and it's when they dig it up, and it's just what do they call that?
In Matrix, or
it could be growing out of.
Oh,
calcite, or I don't know what it grows.
It's in a pegmatite, so it grows in quartz.
In quartz,
yeah. But so anytime I see a fine crystal, and so but nowadays, gem rough is so difficult to find. They're actually people are going through their collections and finding a beautiful crystal that may have a little nick in one of the facet or the little crystal junction, the face junctions, and it's got a ding in it. Let's cut it. So. But so that's where I started getting into minerals. But before then, it was just faceted gemstones.
Yeah, when you say gem rough is difficult to get, you mean in this country?
Well, he would sell he'd have everything from all over the world.
Gotcha.
He had friends that lived over in Africa and he'd go visit them and find green garnets and tanzanites and tourmalines. And
there was a lot of those guys back then that from this country that would go all through Africa like crazy men. Dealing in gemstones. There are still today. There was a show like that where these three people would go through and find rough and have it cut up, and then I saw what they cut up, and I
was this on TV within the last decade or so?
Yeah, and they
I will not mention the name because I have background and inside information on that show.
And it's got to be it was all fake.
A vast majority of it was.
Yeah, including that Sunset Sapphire, whatever the hell that was. I looked it up. Because they supposedly cut all these carats of this most beautiful thing, and they're setting it in sterling silver and 10-karat gold
and selling it
for ridiculous money. And it's like, if that was of any value, it's not in sterling silver or 10-karat gold.
Well, let's just say
not that many. He gives away. He gives this parcel of rough to this guy to cut it, and he picked it up the next day, and there had to be 500 stones in there.
Yeah, there's no.
I'm like, that just doesn't happen.
Well, I would tell you this: that where was it? It was the Himalayan barrel that they found. Right. Found on the show.
Yeah,
it actually came from Mexico.
Yeah, not surprised.
And last time I checked on that, it's not been paid for.
Really?
Yeah. So most reality shows take it with a grain of salt, but.
The only one of those that is the gold shows, like Gold Rush.
Oh, okay.
Okay, where they're actually pissed off that they're getting fined. They don't mind getting the small checks because they're dealing in tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
But it's real. It is.
It's kind of. I mean, it's harder to fake some things than others. It's kind of hard.
Yeah. Gemstones, it's so easy to fake, even if you know what you're doing.
Right. Plus, there's always editing involved. So.
Yeah, editing, you can't edit something from the Himalayas to Mexico. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's a big edit there.
But there were 25-gallon barrels full of rough barrel that have yet to be paid for, and they were cut and sold based on that show.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that show was a commercial for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's and a fake.
Now I will say, Cat Florence does make some beautiful jewelry. I actually own some. So.
You watch the Opal show?
When I catch it, yes.
That seems fairly realistic, except for the pricing.
Again, I can't prove it one way or another, but I'm sure they inflate those values for
well, yeah, and I am okay with that, because you as a consumer are out of that loop. There's no way you're going to step foot in that loop.
Right.
And most of that rough material, they don't go down to the local Opal guy and sell it to.
Well, that's the thing. And Opal is one of the most difficult stones to value before it's cut.
Right.
Because it could have a lot of play of color showing on the surface, but you polish down 1.5 millimeters and it's just potch and empty. Yeah,
and that rough is going to Japan or Opal or some deal in the United States before it even gets back to town, that they are out there. Mm-hmm. I know these guys I know the miners. I know Emmanuel Cristianos. Matty Tika.
Oh, he's a good dude. I like him.
Matty Tika. It's from these are the guys that I hung out with.
Right. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I wish there were more like him.
Do you know, Matty, I hope you're out there. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're really good. That he won the title of strongest senior Australian.
No way.
Yeah. He's got muscles on top of muscles.
Right.
But yeah, he got that title as the strongest senior in Australia.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Matty. Matty and I go back many years. Emmanuel, there was a bunch of them. They used to be in Tucson at the Holiday Inn Holodome on the bottom floor around the pool.
That's where I met him for the first time.
No. Right. That's probably is.
Oh, no, he wasn't around no, he was at the Holodome, but he was inside. I think he wasn't in one of the.
Yeah, no, he's there's 4 rooms. Dave Friedland's brother, Tom Friedland, had one of the rooms, and he was near the corner, and Matty Tika was 5 doors down. Not Matty, Emmanuel Cristianos. Emmanuel Cristiano, his son is actually still operating the mines. I Googled him the other day, and he's selling most of the Opal on the internet.
Right on.
So, yeah. They shut down Minabee.
They did.
You can't mine in Minabee anymore. It's illegal to mine in Minabee.
Right. Which shocked me. I mean, I'm not really surprised, but I'm sad that source is now gone.
Yeah.
That place produced some amazing pieces.
Yeah, there were some real problems with the mining in that town, though.
Right.
Yeah. But, yeah, you don't want to walk outside of a mining town. You fall into a hole.
Exactly.
Emmanuel, his house is all underground.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nice and cool under there.
Well, that's why Cooper Petey is Cooper Petey.
Yeah.
White man in a hole.
Yeah.
That's basically what it translates to.
Yeah.
And I've seen, I think there's some Airbnbs you can actually rent that are
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? That'd be really cool. Although
I'd do it.
I don't know.
Thankfully, I'm not claustrophobic.
I am. And
what a better way to get over your phobia.
Okay. All right. So the Grand Canyon Caverns on Route 66. This is getting to that. There's one of those tourist traps that you take an elevator and go down, way down into a giant cavern that has all types of crystal formations in it. And they actually have a bed that you can rent the bed for the night. I was so uncomfortable being down there. It's like Babs wanted to go down there. We're doing the Route 66 thing. This is before COVID. And she wanted to go down there, and so I did. I found out last month that the elevator broke with people down there, and there's stairwells to get up there, but it's so scary and so steep and so thin. They didn't want to put anybody on the stairs, and they actually got the fire department because there's holes going out of it, and they got the fire department to, I guess, lower people and get them out.
That's
no, just no.
I mean, I'm not claustrophobic, but having to be down there for a while, I'm sure would be a little unnerving.
Yes.
So,
yeah, not for me. Not for me. I'll take the pass.
Right.
So, anybody out there have any questions? Just type them in here, and I'll actually read them if anybody's even out there. The beauty of what we're doing with this is we're also recording it at the same time.
Right.
So it'll be up, and we'll also it'll be in our live area, but we're also going to manipulate it a little bit with some headers and stuff put up in the regular area. That's what we all do on YouTube, people out there.
It's all about the editing.
Yes, yeah.
It's all about the editing, baby.
I try to not edit much at all, as you can tell by all the stuff I leave in and don't take out.
Right. But you're telling me people want to know how I got in the industry, or what, why I do.
Yeah,
what I
that's
do,
right.
How I do what I do.
We meandered.
Yeah, what squirrel.
Okay.
It happens.
Yeah.
But I had my first retail jewelry job when I was 15 years old in Atlanta, and that catapulted me. That was like my launching pad. You
don't have any family in the industry, right?
No,
That's, for those of you out there, that's odd. That you're in the industry but don't have family that was in the industry.
Right.
My parents had a jewelry store.
Well, it's like my old boss Tom Schneider. He got in the industry because his parents had a rock shop, so he kind of took it over and then just started doing his own thing. I started basically from scratch. So, but I had I was 15. Jacket and tie, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Hated that part of it, but loved everything else.
Was it just a regular jewelry store?
Yeah, it was a mom and pop jewelry store.
Mom and pop. Okay.
Yeah, it was an independently owned jewelry store.
And they deal in color?
Yes. He was a custom jeweler. He did everything from casting and finishing. He did everything from A to Z. And he's still open. He's all these years.
Is he really?
Yeah. And that's actually, you said his name, Izzy Israeli. And
you work for Izzy?
He was my first retail jewelry store.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Izzy, if you're watching. How's it going, Izzy?
That was 1996.
Okay.
Yeah, 15. So that was 1996.
And that catapulted you?
Yeah. So he took me to my first real gem show, the SJTA show in Atlanta.
Oh, that's a real jeweler show. That's not just a gem show.
Yeah, that's the first industry show.
Yeah, I went to that in 1981. It wasn't SJTA. It was the Atlanta show back then.
It may have been back then too, but
yeah,
I don't remember. But he introduced me to some amazing color stone guys.
Yeah,
and I was hooked.
Anybody you want to mention that's still around?
Not that I can recall, actually.
Yeah,
there's one name I remember, but he's no longer. I doubt he's alive anymore. Ephraim Katz, and he had oddball, unusual, rare stuff that I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Did you go to the GLW shows at all?
In Franklin, yeah. So we did every now and then, because
that's the cool stuff.
It's more rockhoundy and minerally, but because I was officially working in a jewelry store, going to the Atlanta show was more geared towards that.
Right.
That's where my interest was.
Right, but the GLW show, there's a lot of, you got Rainbow Rattan, there's a lot of gem dealers there. I mean, the Paraíba tourmaline pretty much poured into GLW shows when Paraíba was first. It wasn't even Paraíba back then. Look at this glowy,
this bright tourmaline.
The tourmaline. I remember Dave Freeland showing it to me. This was in the 80s. Mm-hmm. He said, check this out. He'd do the inlay work in the gold
and the Intarsia pieces.
Well, not Intarsia. It was Intarsia is pieces next to each other. He actually I have a piece. He actually inlaid it.
Okay.
Beautiful inlay. He set up in the Philippines.
Yeah,
that's a story. That's a great story. I'll tell that story one day. I should record that story for prosperity.
Right.
I have Dave on here with me. Maybe the three of us we'll pull Dave in from.
Just come to Denver. Let's do a live from Denver.
I don't. Is he doing Denver still?
He was. He did this past year.
He did do it this past year. Yeah. He's cut back a lot of shows. He doesn't do any GLW shows anymore because they realized they were undercharging him for a booth because he had extra tables, and
they tried to collect.
and hey, the contract is the contract,
right?
and of course everybody from GLW passed away. You know, Bob Shabillion, the original Dirty. I don't know if you know about the Dirty Dozen.
Nope.
We're gonna retro back a little bit.
Okay.
Tucson started with 12 gem dealers that came out of Quartzsite, and they were called the Dirty Dozen.
Gotcha.
I know most of them. I would think most of them have passed on at this point, but that's how it started. And when they learned how to do the show, they broke off and created their own shows in Tucson. Right. So Bob Shabillion came GLW, then another one became GLDA, which was the big downtown Holiday Inn show. I don't know if you remember.
That was before my time.
Yeah. So that's how Tucson started with these 12 dealers.
Right on.
I put my hand at 5, but I don't have 12 fingers. So where were we? Okay. So, boy, I just lost my train of thought.
What are you talking about, Dave and Inlay?
Oh yeah, and
Powder Eva.
And we would do the shows, and I actually met Dave's brother Curtis. I met Curtis. We were driving from Asheville, North Carolina, to do the show in Baltimore, and we stayed at the same hotel across from each other in Baltimore, and I got friends with Curtis, and then Curtis introduced me to his brother at the show, not in Franklin but in Spruce Pine. He was right next to us, and Dave and I became very close friends after that, and he sent me to the Philippines with him to go and create the platinum factory that he had. So a lot of great people you meet in this industry.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So he was doing that inlay work that you see other companies do today. He was the one. He stole it from the Navajo. Okay, they would do the turquoise inlay, and he stole that. Dave may be watching this. I'm sorry, Dave. What is a better word than stole?
Took inspiration.
He took inspiration.
Learned the process behind.
Yeah, and he made a lot of really cool Native American style.
Right.
Kachinas, all that kind of stuff. But then he decided, let's go and do our own thing.
Yeah.
And that's when he did his own thing.
Yeah.
And that's when I first saw Powder Eva Tourmaline. He still has some parcels of it.
Oh, see, I'd love to get my hands on some of that.
Yeah, and
I wish I knew about it back in the mid '90s. When
I wish I knew about gold was going to go where it was today.
I know, right?
Yeah. But I would go with him to the dealers that he was buying from. I was that guy that always tug along with the Opal guys, with all these guys. I was just a tool guy back then. I sold beads at home, but on the road, they all knew me as a tool guy, so I was never threatening.
Right.
I was, just this guy that always went along with everybody. So
learned a lot. Learning as you go.
Yes, I learned a heck of a lot about a lot of parts of this business.
Yeah.
So back to you. And so you worked for Izzy.
Yeah, worked for Izzy for many years. Ended up leaving Georgia and moving to San Diego to go to the GIA.
Okay.
So this was in 2005. So I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled into San Diego on July 24th, 2005.
Okay.
My sister-in-law's birthday, so I remember it. And I remember thinking to myself, I was listening to the radio, and I was pulling into Interstate 8, pulling into San Diego County and everything. And yeah, we're in the middle of a heat wave. It's like 84 degrees. And I thought to myself at that moment, 84 is a heat wave. I'm going to like this place.
So GIA is in,
It's in Carlsbad.
Where's Carlsbad?
North San Diego County.
In my mind, it was north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Just in my mind, because I'm not California geography.
Yeah. It's still very, very Southern California, but it's in North San Diego.
I would love to live in San Diego. I couldn't afford to live in San Diego.
Nobody really can anymore these
days.
So.
But I would love that kind of weather. That'd be for me.
No, it's called America's Finest City for a reason.
Yeah.
So my first 6 months at GIA, I did the graduate jeweler program.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, working for a custom jeweler like Izzy, walked in there thinking I was hot stuff. Oh boy, was I in for a rude awakening.
You can be very humbled in this business.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Within the first week, I was like, I really don't know anything.
Yes.
I mean, I work for a custom jeweler, but I don't know anything.
Yeah.
But 6 months later, I was a proficient jeweler. but it wasn't where my heart was. I mean, I enjoyed it. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I loved what I learned, but I haven't sat at a bench since. It's not where my heart lies.
You went to GA to take?
I originally went for graduate gemology.
Okay.
But I figured I'm there. I might as well learn as much as I can. So I signed up for a graduate jeweler, graduate gemologist, the design program, and the wax program.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I like let's go. Like I'm all in.
Wow.
And back then,
that's a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it would have been 18 months or so, in San Diego.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first 6 months, graduate jeweler, loved it, had a blast. Second 6 months, I did graduate gemologist. Loved every minute of it.
You like the detective work?
I do. I mean, I wish I had a full lab, that I could use now.
Well, what are you missing? You got a microscope?
No. The one I got is not nearly enough.
You bought the one from I won't say in Texas?
No.
Of course, I know you. I saw.
Oh wait, was it Texas? I don't know where.
Kessler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas, Texas.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fine microscope. It's just not enough.
It's not a gemological microscope.
Right.
I sold those microscopes in the 90s. We used to buy them from Kessler. Not saying there's anything wrong with them.
No, it's a fine beginner scope,
but it's a real beginner scope.
Right.
I mean, it was a workaround to get a cheap scope out there.
Yeah. But so I have the polariscope, have the refractometer, have the dichroscope. I would love a desktop polariscope, a spectroscope.
A spectroscope.
Because the handheld job.
Can anybody use those?
My instructor can.
Well, yeah. I mean, I looked through one of them. What the heck am I looking at?
I mean, with me, if I get lucky, I can pull a spectrum with a handheld, but it's a royal pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But it's very if you learn how to use it and you get proficient at it, it can be a lifesaver.
I can't use a Chelsea filter. I can't do it.
I'm just not a huge fan of them.
Yeah,
because you need perfect lighting and you need the filter, and then is there enough chromium where that stone is turning red? I can't tell.
Yeah, the Chelsea filter is for red stones
and green stones.
Yeah. I don't. Well, my eyes were good back then when I tried using it. Now the London dichroscope is fantastic.
Oh, dichroscopes are awesome.
Yeah, they're really what it is. That tells singly refractive from double refractive stone. Right. Those of you not in the business,
basically,
glass is singly refractive. Most stones,
There's only a small handful that are singly refractive.
Right, so you could almost eliminate a green stone that's singly reactive glass. Or something else.
what it's really good for is light blue stones. So aqua versus topaz. So when you're using the dichroscope, when you look at aquamarine, you'll see blue and green. But when you look at blue topaz, that lighter sky blue, you'll see either gray or colorless, and then the blue.
Okay. Well, I just learned something. I did it when selling the dichroscopes. I did a demonstration on blue topaz, and you could see two different colors of blue.
Okay.
Two totally different colors of blue. Now with my eyes, maybe one of them was clear. Don't think so. I think it was two different colors of blue. I did not know that aquamarine. That would have been a good sales tool. Hey, you're going to have to use that.
Yes.
So I have two of these dichroscopes left. I sold a bunch to Robert for his classes. He loves the London dichroscope.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
I fully endorse them.
Yeah.
Love them.
I did that with the flat lights that we have. Those.
Yeah. The not the frosted look.
Like a one on my desk.
It's not. I can't call it frosted, but the diffused light.
Diffused backlight. Do you know where they're from?
We're looking at slides.
Yeah, the 35 millimeter.
Yeah, for photo slides.
Yeah. They just took the name off and put GemTrue on it.
Well, I mean, just because it's made for one thing doesn't mean it doesn't have multiple uses.
Yes, it's excellent. I actually saw on Alibaba a big one like this, so I bought them. Right, I bought a case of them, and they're terrible because they have a crosshatch on them. Actually, I'll show it before you leave.
Okay.
There's one on Bab's desk. I figured this would be terrific. You'll be able to lay your rough on there. You'll be able to see the roof. I got a winner on the hand. Going to make some money. Yeah, they're in the trash can now. In the trash. Luckily, I didn't pay a lot for them.
Yeah. And I'd love a specific gravity setup. You need like an enclosed scale with doors.
Yes.
This weird contraption that you hang beakers in. We had one in class. It was fantastic.
There's ways of making those.
Yeah, I just don't want
to. No.
Again, my time. I can just make it for me. I'll throw some money at you and just deliver it to me ready to go.
We were on JHJ and somebody was saying, "Isn't there one device that could tell me what my stones are?"
No.
There was promises of that. The one that we sold was the Gem Meter 90, and that was made in Sarasota by Sarasota Instruments. The guy, a great guy. We actually went in partners with a lot of stuff together. It was a reflectivity meter, kind of genius. The problem is if the stone's not totally flat,
you get a skewed result.
Right, because what's happening is shooting a beam, an infrared beam, and then it's got a receptor picking it up as it bounces back in. Each stone is going to bounce differently in there, and it measures the difference. That was the Gem Meter 90. And Presidium has
their electronic
thermoconductivity tester, because each stone dissipates heat at a different level. None of these can tell synthetic from natural.
Yeah.
Does not happen.
A lot of times, that kind of thing. I mean, Presidium as a company is great, but their electronic gem tester thing is just.
Well, Presidium as a company is problematic. We've had some of the diamond testers coming as a tool company. That the distributor in the U.S. that we bought it from, we had a defective one come in, wouldn't replace it. We would have to send it back to Singapore.
Seriously?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm going to name names here. We were a Eurotool distributor for many years. We created a tool called the Pavetron. Okay, that was our registered name. That's us. That is me.
Okay.
That's an inverted diamond on a steel end that goes into a hammer hand piece that leaves the indentation of the diamonds in the gold.
I've used it.
Yes, that is me.
Cool.
Okay, we sold it to Herman from Eurotool. I love Herman. Okay, and the idea was we'll sell it to you, and you have to get us in the tool business. That's it. He introduced us to WW Impacts and Grow Bay and the rest of them. We sold to him. We gave him an exclusive deal on them. He sells the company.
I'm guessing new owners didn't.
The new owner, and I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I didn't like the company's policies. We did business for years. We got some diamond testers in. One of them didn't work. And I called them up, and she says, well, you got to send it back to Presidium. And it's a $50. My cost, $50, maybe less. I go, what do you mean it's going to cost more than that? And she said, this is what you have to do. I go, if a customer of mine had a defective product,
you'd be the one to replace it.
I would take care of it so quickly. And if I had to, I would throw it in the circular file, the bad one, and be done with it. And I will admit, I had terse words with them. Very terse.
Well, if they
I was pissed off. I was pissed off. And I know they record the conversations. I got a phone call from the owner. And this is after years of doing business. He goes, we don't want to do business with people like you. And I said, well, why don't you listen to that phone call and see how ridiculous that phone call was? He goes, I don't care. We don't want to do. You hassled my girls. We don't want to do business with you. Okay, fine. We don't do business. So you know what I did? I went to China and to India and brought in all the tools myself. And he forced that on me. And that's how we got into selling all the Chinese. But that pissed me. You just don't do that. I'm spending $40,000, $50,000 a year with this company. So thank you, Eurotool. You got me into importing my own CZ master sets, my diamond picker upper tools,
plunger tools.
And you actually and these, I can sell these to jewelers cheaper than you can sell them to me for when we were buying them from you.
Right.
Which got us into selling the printers.
You came in bot.
Yeah.
We love it.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
I had to get that off my chest. Where were we?
San Diego.
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. I miss it. I don't miss paying for it, but I miss it.
Yeah.
I was just back there for 10 days, and it brought back so many good memories.
Yeah, now you're living in Florida.
Yeah.
The only thing good about this Florida is there's no income tax.
There are other upsides. I mean, it's 70 and
hurricanes.
It's 70 in January instead of 30, but it does get a little nippy. No, but because I fully never intended. Well, back to San Diego, I never intended on staying. I had actually planned on doing my school and going back to Georgia. Well, not so. I finished graduate jeweler for 6 months. I finished graduate gemology, loved it, had a blast. And I think at the time you were required to identify. So you did 6 weeks of diamonds, and the rest of the 6 months was all color. During the color stone part, you were required to identify, like during class time, like I think it was 2,000 stones to actually like get enough to pass the class. And, I loved it. I did 4,000. Like I doubled the requirement.
Wow.
I would sit there and just bust through stones in class. But being that I had studied and focused all my energy on this before then, I was coming into it as a veteran, basically.
Yeah, and you're enjoying it. It wasn't.
Oh yeah,
difficult.
To me, it wasn't work.
Yeah.
And being in class, hearing some of my classmates that were whining and moaning and complaining that they were forced to be there from their families. Who were in the business. Now, granted, a lot of it was diamonds. They were in the diamond section, the diamond portion of the business, but they had zero interest in being there.
Yeah.
And it bugged me. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you're here. It's only 6 months. Just
such an opportunity.
Right. Even if you don't use it after you're done, just put your effort into it while you're here. Yeah. But I was actually the second instructor in my class.
Wow.
So when the actual instructor had a line of people, 3 or 4 people at their desk and their microscope, I would have people like lined up next to me in the aisle, and I would never give them the answer. But I would say, well, instead of looking for this, look for make sure the RI is correct and make sure the specific.
Yeah, you just kept them on the road.
Right. I never gave them the answer, but I pointed them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And they were very appreciative. People loved it. And I actually applied to be an instructor before I actually graduated. Didn't get hired, but that's okay. But I actually found a job working with Tom Schneider. He's in the Jewelers Exchange building, which is 8 floors of jewelers, watchmakers.
505 South Hills? Oh, no.
That's LA. San Diego's 861 6th Avenue. 92101. Still have that.
Now Miami is 36 Northeast First.
Right. But yeah, so I actually, a schoolmate of mine, we were looking through one of the Tucson show guides, and we kept seeing these gem dealers with the address 861 6th Avenue, because we had no idea this Jewelers Exchange building existed. So we're like, hey, there's like 3 or 4 people at this one address. Like, let's go figure out what this is and check it out. Well, all of a sudden, there's everything you need at your disposal.
Oh, yeah, one building. These Jewelry Exchange, Miami's got one.
Yeah.
Of course, New York has a whole street.
Right.
LA 505.
550 South Hill.
550 South
Olive right around the corner.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. So I lived in Carlsbad. He lived in San Diego. So probably 3 days a week, I would drive the 30 miles to San Diego, hang out after school, and we got out of class at 3. We'd make it down to his place, depending on traffic, by 4, and most people closed at 5 at the Jewelers Exchange. So we would like run downtown San Diego and have like 45 minutes or so to visit a few different people. And yeah, like Tom was one of the nicest guys ever. Like, he was very welcoming, very open, like accommodating. He basically had like dumped his safes onto the showcase counters, so like my friend and I could rummage through and see what was there.
Cool.
Oh yeah, it was great. And ended up, he actually offered me a position. I'm like, done. don't even have to ask twice. He probably didn't really have to pay me. I mean, I did need rent.
Gotta live.
Yeah, so that was nice. But yeah, like it's one of those jobs where more of my paycheck stayed with him than went home with me. And that's why, like I said, that's where I got into minerals. So now, and I hate him for it. I hate every minute of it, because that cut into my cut stone budget. So now, I mean, I have probably a drawer system this tall that's all mineral specimens.
Wow.
Yeah. And some are miniatures, some are perky boxes or little like 1 1/4 inch something or others. But and I actually keep them in golf ball cubes, so they stay clean and fresh. They don't get damaged. I hot glue them. And, you know, the larger pieces I put into the acrylic hockey puck or baseball cubes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and they travel well. You know. But my safe is full of loose stones, and my little cabinet full of mineral crystals, and I look at them lovingly and longingly, and occasionally I try to sell them. They're like my kids, so
yeah,
I have a fondness for most of them.
Yeah, it's difficult to give up your kids.
Yeah.
Not me.
Well, when the tax man cometh and rent is due and all your credit card bills don't stop coming because I keep spending.
I got no problem. Nothing's sacred.
I will say everything has a price. Everything I have, like inventory, has a price on it. Some of those prices are exceedingly high.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to pay me that much for it, you know what? You can have it.
I'm kind of, if I could turn a profit, I'll just sell it and move on to the next item.
Oh, I have plenty of those.
Yeah.
But there are, a few special stones. Like I have a 7-carat Sweet Home rhodochrosite from Colorado.
Did I see that?
No.
Okay.
I won't. I've got a 3 and a 5-carat, but I will not sell the 7-carat unless someone wants to pay me enough that I can buy a 10-carat. Or until I find a 10-carat, then that stays with me. So until I find something bigger and or better, like there are a few pieces that will stay with me.
I saw in Tucson a rhodochrosite beads that were like jelly beans. They were that gemmy, that just super gemmy Rodco. I don't know if you remember Rodco. Yeah. Super gemmy. It was at the I forget the name. The show that Dave Freeland does.
That's 22nd Street.
No.
He did
they're one of the original ones on the hotel.
Gotcha.
They got good burgers there. I forget the name.
Well, no, I say 22nd Street because that's where we were. The same promoter in 22nd Street does the Denver show, the showcase in Denver, and that's where he was. So.
Yeah. Now this was on the frontage road. Maybe a quarter mile off Congress, down the frontage road.
Okay.
It's a big show. That's where Z. You familiar with Z's?
Again, I don't know him personally, but so there's the Ramada Inn, which is the Pueblo show.
Yeah, it's a Pueblo, old Pueblo.
Yeah.
Then it was called Water Rapids or something like that. Or...
It's been, even just since I started going in like late 2000s, it's been 3 different things.
Yeah. So. Just like the old Discovery. We started the old Discovery, then the old Discovery is no longer the old Discovery.
Right.
Discovery moved next door, that became the Discovery, but we were at the old Discovery.
Yeah. So things changed, and it's the only constant in life. But
yeah,
the Pueblo Gem Show is still called the Pueblo Gem Show.
Of course.
From way back in the day, even though it's at the Ramada.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's we've been doing this for 48 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Time has flown.
Yes, it does. Let's do this again sometime.
Okay.
We'll figure out another topic. Maybe we'll talk about lab-grown diamonds. No, let's talk about next time just synthetics.
In general.
Not just diamonds, but all around. We can bring Tom Chatham in to, talk about Tom Chatham and,
What do you mean bring him in? Is he here?
No, I don't. No, I mean, just talk about Chatham Emerald. Okay. Actually, I know Tom was on Polygon.
Yeah.
And he went to all the conventions. I knew Tom real well. That's one thing with Polygon. You really got to meet the movers and the shakers in the jewelry industry. It was really great back in those days.
Give him a ring. Tell him to send some samples of some nice crystal clusters for me.
Well, he's doing diamonds now.
I know.
I don't know what the deal's with that. I mean, why pick something that's...
Because it's popular.
Yeah, but it's getting cheaper and cheaper.
As long as you can turn a profit, like you said, as long as you can turn a profit, why not?
Yeah. I see India turning a profit. I see China turning a profit. I don't see Tom Chatham turning a profit.
But he does have the name. He has been like the name in synthetics for decades.
Yes. So. And it's a different kind of synthetic. When he does emeralds, it is a much more expensive.
Yes. He doesn't do that cheap stuff.
Right. And you can tell it's got a body to it, not just a color. It's got a whole...
Well, it's grown the same way naturals are grown.
Yeah.
So they have similar inclusions.
Yeah.
So they look as natural as a synthetic can probably get.
Yeah. On the lab-grown diamonds, we would call it from peanut butter Was GE first do it with peanut butter?
Or
is that a? Well, we'll have to look that up.
I'll have to do some research into that.
All right, guys. If you like what we're doing, hey, subscribe. We've done this 49 minutes and 52 seconds, and I hope you all enjoyed it.
Me too. I had fun talking.
Yeah,
I love talking to Kerry. He's chock full of information. He's such a good dude.
This was fun. This was great. All right, we're gonna end the stream now.
All right, take care, y'all.